How's it going, Andrew?
What up, Matt?
Same old, kind of.
Kinda. So
A little more tired.
I'm tired too. My kid's going through a sleep regression, so the sleep's been down, and I'm a sleepy boy.
We were having some behavioral issues at school that have started to resolve themselves now, but it was dicey there for a minute.
Isn't it fun being a parent? What a good time.
Oh, yeah. You know, though, to be honest, it's really got its
Blessing.
ups and downs. You know,
It's
there's
its own
great
thing.
days and there's bad days. You know, there's great days like when you're playing Mario Kart with your 4-year-old and she decides to say, damn it, at one point.
I've been there. Well, I haven't been there, but I've been on the receiving end of saying, damn it, playing Mario Kart.
Like, wait a minute. What did you just say? Dang it. Oh, okay. That's what I thought I heard.
Fudge. Well, it's an exciting day for me because my master's hat has arrived. If I'm elected, I had to be prepared. I can't wait to buy it. So It's here. It has arrived, and I gave you a sneak peek, so we can't reveal too much. Classico.
It looks good, though. Looks good.
Looks classic. I want to adorn it with feathers or something.
Feathers? Really?
I'm just kidding. Probably
Pins? Throw some pins on it or something.
Maybe just like one pin, like a nice, classy pin on the side. Like just one would be kind of nice. I have seen that you can get jewels that hang on the hats, but I don't know if I love that. It's too much.
That is a bit much, I feel like.
Have you seen it?
But teach their own.
It kind of looks like the chain. It goes around the top.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
I think it looks kind of cool, but I just don't know if it's my style.
Yeah. Teach their own, right? You know, I'm never going to judge another man's hat.
Yeah, your hat has skulls on it. A skull on it.
Yeah. Well, just a skull and crossbones, but
Memento Mori.
we all know I'm a big fan of the skull and Memento Mori, so.
See, I'm a big fan as well, but it's just not my vibe. You know what I mean? If I start wearing skulls, people are like, why is Andrew wearing skulls? And you're like, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit my vibe. And so, I like the symbol, and I'd like to be a skull and crossbow boy. People are like, stop lying. Stop lying, Andrew. You're not a skull and crossbow. You're like, I like it. And they're like, no, it's false advertising.
I think people would look at me funny if I wasn't wearing skulls.
Yep. There's schoolboys and there's not schoolboys. And as much as I want to be a schoolboy, some people just aren't schoolboys, so I can't help it.
How many times can Andrew say skullboy on this week's episode of Time for Fellowship?
I'm just saying that not everyone can be a schoolboy, and I'm not a schoolboy. That's just the way it goes. I appreciate the schoolboys.
I'm going to throw down a challenge like in Super Troopers where they try to see how many times he can say meow.
You should get a challenge coin that just says schoolboy, and you give it to people who are school. If you meet a schoolboy in public, a Mason who's wearing a skull, you hand it to me like, welcome to the schoolboys. Welcome to the illustrious order of schoolboys.
Oh, that's great. Maybe for my next go round in the East, if it happens.
So the other fun thing I've been looking at is I've been looking at pin shopping for the Order of the Sleepless Nights. So,
Sleepless Nights, yes.
To our listeners, one of our past masters had dropped off some items that he had around his house when he was moving. And within it, there was a sheet of paper that revealed a very secretive and illustrious order of the Sleepless Nights. So what we learned was that is an order that was passed out if you close the bar with the master of the lodge. And so I kind of want to reestablish this illustrious order of Sleepless Nights.
Right. Yeah. Didn't we tack on to it, though? It could either be that or you have a young child at home while being an officer.
I like that idea too. So no one's left out then. And by the way, it's spelled knight like a medieval soldier, right?
Right.
Like a unarmored soldier. Right. So it's a good tongue in cheek, illustrious order. And what I've found is apparently it was in fad during that generation of officers to make up fake orders. So we have the illustrious order of the Stormy Knights, Southern Jurisdiction, which is they would wear stormy chromers at a meeting, and they named it a knighthood. So there's a lot of people. It seems like it was a fun thing to have fun making civil orders that they're just like trivial within the lodge. It's like a fun little culture thing.
You know what they call that when you have too many knights, right?
What?
A surplus.
What?
A surplus.
A surplus.
Yeah. Have a surplus, right? Like a knight is a sir. Yeah. Lame. I've decided I gotta ramp up my dad joke game. She's 4 now. I gotta have the bad jokes to tell.
Yeah, you do. And you're prepping for your newest committee assignment next year. To my listeners, if elected, I put one of my committees as the revered committee of dad jokes. So when I call up on that committee and say for your report, the 3 of them have to have a dad joke prepared to quickly recite to the lodge is one of my plans. So good thing you're getting your dad joke brain polished off.
Yep, I'm working on it just for you. Increasing the amount of jokes in the database. All right, we've tortured our listeners enough. Hit the intro. Let's get this started.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for Fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
You know what else I'm not besides not being a schoolboy?
What?
I don't think I can be a beard
You're
boy
not dad
either.
joke guy?
Not that either.
Oh, no. You definitely, no. I can't see you with a beard. Although, it would be fun to see you try.
That's why I ask. I'm getting beard curious.
You're getting beard curious.
Yeah.
So I think your biggest holdup would be you would have to figure out something different to do with your hair. Either like grow it out and like more slick it back or something. But I don't think your hairstyle would accompany a beard well.
Well, funny you mentioned that. I'm also getting medium length hair curious as of this week, even though I do have a haircut on Friday. My thought is, okay, I know this is a sidetrack from our topic, but I don't care. So I like, there's part of Andrew that loves the idea that I should have different styles per the season, right? So there's summer style, like the leaves on the trees fall. So should the world looks different. So should I. That like summer should be, clean shaved, tight haircut, shorter hair, right? Like I do. I'm playing hurling. I don't want long hair or anything like that. It's just hot. And that in the winter, it should be facial hair and long hair season. So there's a juxtaposition so that I'm not always just looking the same every time.
The problem with that becomes if you want to try to venture into the beard game, there are weird stages that the beard goes through. So it's either 365 or nothing, buddy.
Well, I mean, it can start being like, winter's almost, it's most of our year here. Like, starting here where it'd be like 5 months later, 5 months beard. I know for sure next month I'll be doing the stash aroni. And so sometimes like I want to do is let the stash build, right? And then let the beard grow around the stash as the stash being the center point of the beard.
You know what? Just grow an epic Sam Elliott stash and be done with it.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm always beard curious. And now what's cool is, so I have like beard alopecia. So like there'll be these spots where hair won't grow and it moves around my face. And it used to be right here on the left side of my face, which kind of ruined the whole thing. Then it started growing there, and it moved underneath my chin. Here. You can see a little spot. But that spot used to be about twice the size, so it started to fill in. And so I seem to be getting to a point where the bearded alopecia is confused where to go. So it seems like I might have a rare opportunity to take a sprint at it before it finds its new home.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Now
I would be curious about it. I am Andrew Beard curious as well.
Now, here's my problem, though. Here's my problem. So, 2 days ago, I was looking for a picture of you when you were clean shaven, right? And when I was looking, I found a picture of me with a beard, and it was brutal. And it was brutal. And I went, well, maybe it'll be different, but it might have just been one of those awkward stages you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. It goes through weird stages on the journey to epicness. You kind of gotta have to accept the fact that you're gonna look foolish for a month or two at certain points.
And the problem is so when I get to like your beard grows in is significantly thicker than mine does. So even at like the low to mid tier, yours looks like a beard. My before full mid looks shitty. So
yeah, you just gotta push through it. And welcome, listeners, to another episode of Time for Beards with Matt and Andrew.
In this episode, we talk about bearded alopecia, a mysterious fool who moves around your face. I kind of want to do it again.
That's like podcast number 7 we have to start now.
Time for beards. One bearded person, one not bearded person.
Right. Just remember, and I'm just going to throw this out there. If you are elected next month, there's going to be lots of pictures at installation. So if you're going to go down that road, start now and decide if you want to get rid of it for installation.
See, now, thank you for bringing up that point, because it really messes up my plans. Because those would be times that I would not like to be photographed. So that sets my timeline back, that I basically need to have my mustache next month. Heck yeah. Shave it before installation. Be installed, and then the beard starts then, which puts me back a month.
Right. And then 6 weeks after installation, we have the Burns dinner, another event where lots of pictures are taken.
You know, I'll take my pictures. I'm not that worried about pictures there, because that's only a couple weeks later. The beard it'll just be like a short beard, or it won't barely be anything at that point.
Right. But yeah, the installation picture is huge, because that's the picture that gets taken at installation is quite possibly the picture of you that's going to hang on the wall for all ages to remember you by.
And see, that's where the problem is because I don't want to have my beard at that time. Hold on. I was going through my phone finding pictures of my facial hair to remind you of the dark times. But yeah,
on this week's episode, we discuss determining whether you should grow facial hair in regards to when major Masonic events are occurring.
Do you let a major Masonic event ruin your dreams of your beard life?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a fair call out. I do feel like that kind of screws over my plans, but I can always find more time. I gotta look out for it, brother. I can't. It is a good call out. It is a fair and just call out, because I would have ended up shaving it anyways, and then having to come back to my listeners and be like, sorry. Had to shave it because I didn't want to look like a complete fool on my installation pictures. So that is fair. All right. Well, I'll find this picture later for you to remind you. I want to show you what I seen, but we don't have to do this while I'm on with our listeners. So on today's topics, bearded alopecia. I'm just kidding. So today we're going to talk about what it means to have a Masonic lifestyle. We've said on this podcast before.
We just did.
Talk about beards. Classic Masonic lifestyle. We've said on the podcast before that Masonry is not always something you do, it's something you live, right? It's a lifestyle. So when people say a Masonic lifestyle, what do they make you think of? Or what comes to mind?
Somebody who stands uprightly in their community and does the right thing even when nobody's watching.
Damn. That's a good answer. I think like for me it is definitely that, for sure. I think it is the living of the transformation that Masonry can offer to those who embrace our principles and our obligations and our ideology. And I do think it's kind of like it's a subtle thing. It's not really in your face. It's just you notice it when you see a person who has progressed in Masonry as far as, improved themselves in Masonry. So it's kind of like, it's less about, secret handshakes. It's more about just not like being a jerk.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would agree. And, it is about getting better every day, right? And self-reflection as to, if there is anything that day where you're like, oof, did I really act the right way in that situation, or could I have done it better? And, making those small course corrections as life goes on, which is integral to life in general, and definitely something I would consider like part of a lifestyle would be, taking the time to self-reflect, especially if something's bothering you.
Yeah, I think you brought out a good point too, is that like the Masonic lifestyle is the builder's lifestyle. That you're constantly working to build yourself. And, some listeners might say, like, that's not groundbreaking. Every self-help book in the world, blah, 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 says this and that. But what's interesting within our craft is that since we're surrounded by people who, not all, but many, are trying to walk that path, that it actually, you're a little more consistent. Like, as an idea, sure, it's not groundbreaking, but in action, when you start to see it working, it is actually kind of interesting. It's like we're in a constant state of renovation.
Right. Well, and, every self-help book and, people can go, well, yeah, that's a common train of thought. But I can tell you something that those self-help books or somebody just saying that's a common train of thought doesn't offer. It doesn't offer you a support system of good men around you who, if through that self-reflection you go, I really think I need to just kind of bounce some of this off somebody and figure it out. That self-help book ain't going to answer you back or listen to you.
Well, and be encouraged, like when you see other people improving, you don't want to be left behind. You don't want to be the schmuck in the room who's not doing anything and just kind of, you're falling behind on that. You want to improve too. You want to follow along, and, you don't want to let your brothers down either. Your bad habits and stuff can be problematic to the people around you, can be annoying, can be frustrating, can, make things challenging. And, when that affects other people, you don't want to do that anymore because you don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, you don't want your circle of friends to move forward without you, and then slowly you're not part of the circle anymore. You're standing outside the circle, and they've moved on. You could compare it to like I don't talk to virtually anybody from high school anymore, and for one reason or another, right? But we've all moved on in our lives. We're all in different places in our lives, and it's not that we've left each other behind. We've moved physically, geographically, whatever, and things like that. But as people continue to develop, if you stay the same person you were 10 years ago, that same type of thing is going to happen, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, like if you don't, develop at the same time. I mean, and it's nice because, within that, it's like I don't want to say it's a peer pressure force, but it kind of is. It's like the positive version of it, where like in a good way, you know what I mean? Where you're like,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, there are positive examples of peer pressure, right? You know, a lot of guys that hit the gym really hard and bodybuilders and stuff like that see other people getting, you know, evolving in their different lifts, or power lifters and stuff like that, and that's a form of competitiveness and peer pressure, right? That has positive results. And Freemasonry can be a form of peer pressure that also has positive results in the way you carry and conduct yourself every day.
Yeah, it's like when your buddy gets into drugs and you go, "Hey, man, all the cool kids aren't doing drugs." Peer pressure.
Right. Right.
It always works, right? Yeah, and
sorry, I just had a Billy Madison flashback because of that, because you said all the cool kids, and all I can think of is all the cool kids are peeing their pants.
Everybody pees their pants.
If you peed your pants, you'd be the Miles Davis of peeing your pants.
If peeing your pants is cool, I'd be Miles Davis.
That's what it is.
That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. Let's go.
Oh God.
Yeah,
we're off on a lot of tangents this episode.
To bring us back on track, I think the commonality of what Masonic peer pressure looks like is the common understanding that you should treat each other with honesty and fairness, otherwise known as Das Square, that you should treat people as equal, so meet on the level, and that you, like you'd mentioned earlier, you should walk uprightly in your conduct. And so when you have that common expectation, though, idealistically, Masons don't always follow that. We're people, right? There's still the expectation amongst brothers. So when someone strays, they're more likely to be like, "Hey, we're Masons. We don't do that." And so there's more likely that someone's going to actually push back on you. And I've seen that happen quite a bit.
And we are all imperfect ashlers, right? We're striving to be perfect ashlers, but we'll never get there in this life. No human is perfect. None of us are infallible. We will always have some flaw that could be worked on or improved, or whatever you want to call it. And so this is a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey of building and self-reflection and taking the advice of others and using that support system and network that Freemasonry provides to help you strive for the next level.
Yep. Well, and one thing I like about the Masonic lifestyle is the allegory of the rough and perfect ashlar. Like you mentioned, like the idea that like so many groups that have idealistic cultures, like Masonry is one of them, that we have an ideal that we try to live up to. In discourse, they like to pretend that it's true. Then you're like, Mason's the most honorable society in the world, and everybody does the goodest thing all the time. And the plain and truth matter is it's not true. No group like that exists because people are in it. We're the problem, right? And so I think that it's important as Masons that we do look at it realistically and be like, hey, some Masons are going to let you down. Some Masons are going to inspire you. And you kind of have to walk that checkerboard and see both and say, well, what do you want to be known for as a Mason? Do you want Masons to think that guy let me down? Or do you want Masons to say, that's what a Mason looks like? That's what I want to look like, and inspire them. And so I think that's the hard thing, is that Masons of various types take that more seriously than others. And sometimes you'll see a Mason that at one point in their life didn't take it seriously, but at a different point, it finally clicked and they started doing it. So you're supposed to judge yourself by the working tools, not judge another, offer wise counsel, and try to encourage. But at the end of the day, and if it comes to lodge administration and stuff like that, take it into account. But at the end of the day, everyone's on their own path, and each path takes its own time.
Well said.
And some people step off the path. It's fine. Not everyone walks the full path, right?
Right. I'm gonna kind of switch this up a little bit and get a little into a slightly different version of living the Masonic lifestyle that you can tell me I'm way off in left field if I do this, but I think part of the Masonic lifestyle as well is learning new skill sets that you never thought you would need or learn. Like, I came into Freemasonry and I liked to cook, but I cooked for like 5 people. Now somebody's like, cook for 30, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Got
You
it.
know, and that's going to vary from like lodge to lodge, right? That's going to be a different experience depending on your lodge culture and your facilities and all that kind of stuff. That's going to be a different experience. But in like my personal experience, cooking for a large group of people now is just like whatever, you know.
I think that addresses another good point about the Masonic lifestyle, that Masonry encourages people to be learners, to get exposed to new challenges and learn new skills, whether that is learning to run an event, learning to cook a large meal. You might join a Masonic trap shooting league, learn to shoot a shotgun. You know, you might join a, you know, who knows? There's an infinite number of experiences you can get within Masonry and challenges you can be presented. And, you know, Masonry very clearly says that part of the Masonic lifestyle is continuing to learn not only about these skills, but about life, about history, about philosophy. Like, it is all in there saying, like, be a learner. Continue to learn. Don't be satisfied that you know enough. You never know enough. And, you know, I think that's included within that. These random skills you get along the way.
Well, and you never know how those random skills are going to come in handy in everyday life, right? Which is always beneficial. Like for me now, hosting like a large family gathering, I'm just kind of like, or, you know, my daughter's birthday party, which gets ridiculously large, is just kind of like, yeah, okay, we're doing this. We're good. Let's go.
Another example, remember my birthday party last year, the chicken tendy party?
Yeah.
Where, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm cooking, I'm deep frying chicken tendies that I'd marinated overnight and battered outside. And then, of course, a couple Masons show up, and I've been doing that. And then Matt just comes up and like, I'm going to take over the fryer. You should go actually talk to people because it's your birthday. And he just goes right in, just like we're both back in the kitchen again at Lodge, being like, hey man, you should go work the floor. I'll take over the shit for a couple minutes. You go and do a couple laps. I'll do this last part. And you're like, yeah, it's just like at Lodge. Mason comes in and goes,
it was.
Here, I'll take a grab of that. I'll make some chicken tendies. You go do a couple rounds and come back when you're ready.
Right. I'm like, what are you doing? It's your birthday party. Go say hi to all the people that have shown up. You haven't moved from the fryer. I got this.
It's a lot of chicken tendies. They were good though.
Yep.
Beer battered tendies.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun, actually.
Chicken tendy party. I've been talking about doing a chicken tendy party for like 10 years. I was like, I'm going to have a chicken tendy party, and I finally did it.
Right. But it's stuff like that, like, you know, you get put in these situations that prior to me having been even a steward, especially junior warden, and done some of the cooking events that I've had to do in those positions. If I would have came to your chicken tendy party prior to that, I would have probably been like, whatever, he's got a plan. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. It's his party, but I'm going to let him go.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, not my problem. And now I'm just like, oh, I can jump in there and let him go enjoy himself for a while.
I mean, I guess that's another part of the Masonic lifestyle that I've noticed from Masons, a willingness to help, to offer help, to come up and be like, hey man, what do you need? Hey, I see you're cleaning up. Can I help with dishes? Hey man, like, I see you're packing down. Do you need me to pick up chairs? Like, we have so many Masons who are visitors in our lodge who'll be like, hey, I can help. I can bust some tables if you guys need some help. Like, a willingness to jump in.
Yeah. And I always appreciate it when people are like offered to jump in and stuff. And I really appreciate it when we have a new candidate that comes through the doors that's like, what can I do to help? And my response, especially to a new candidate, well, usually only to a new candidate. I'm sorry, if you've been a member of Lodge for a little bit and you offer to help, I'm going to put you to work.
Yep.
But like a new candidate, unless we're desperate, I'm going to tell them to just go talk to people and not worry about it. We got it. You know,
I've been actually thinking about that because when we did our most recent interviews of a candidate, he's like, I'm not here to join a lodge where I sit and just talk. Like, I want to help and do stuff. And I think of a very specific brother before this most recent candidate, who's now an officer in our line, who helped us decorate for Spaghetti. We were talking about the meal. He's like, I want to come help with that. And he had not even received his petition yet. And I was like, you want to come help put up Halloween decorations? He's like, yeah, big time. And I went, all right, you can come. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Ooh.
And that's, brother Jesse. And so part of me goes,
right.
when somebody asks that sincerely, I do think that I'm starting to realize the correct answer is, all right, come and help us then, because that might be how they bond and how they do have conversations, is they like to have something to work over.
Right.
And so when he was saying that
fair.
got me thinking. And I was like, I think we try to be hospitable, which I think is the right thing to do. Be like, hey, man, don't you even worry about nothing. We're here because, to be hospitable and be welcoming. So, like, you don't have to worry about that. But when they ask, we don't ask them to do it. When they ask, be like, are you sure? Yes, I want to. And be like, all right, well, come with me then, because that might be how they bond with people.
True. That's a good point. And on that point, maybe we should reach out to our newest candidate about Halloween decorations going up tomorrow.
I'll talk to Steven. It's a good idea. It could be a good way for him to bond too. I don't know if he's received the call yet. I hope he's not listening to this. And so, yeah, I'm assuming he has. But so, oh no, I know he has. But so, yeah, that is a good idea, and I'll follow up on that after this episode.
Because he has been asking me. He has at a couple of meetings now, and I've just kind of been like, no. Kitchen staff's got it. We're good.
He made it fairly clear in talking with him that he does not want to sit around and just hang out. If he's going to hang out with a group, he wants to do stuff. And I went, that's fair.
Well, next time he asks, I'm putting him to work then.
Yep, good call. To bring us back to, this is still a lifestyle, but I think another aspect of the Masonic lifestyle, and this actually connects to that, is service and charity. Just like we're kind of talking about, is that, like, for a long time, and it even goes along with skills you learn along the way. I didn't have any issue, and I thought charity was a noble thing, but I didn't know how to necessarily effectively do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what does charity look like? You'd think, oh, just donate to the Red Cross. That's charity. And you just go, yeah, it is. But there's other forms, like being accessible to help when someone needs help.
Mm-hmm.
Mentorship is almost a form of charity in itself. Acting kindly and treating people with respect is another form of charity. Just like loving your community in a way that even to a stranger, you're like, yeah, I'll help you out. Like, and I think that's another thing that you'll notice with Masons.
Right. I would agree. And I think a lot of people out there have a misconception that charity has to be complex or all-encompassing, or you have to do ridiculous amounts of hours at it. And that's not the case. It can be something super simple. It doesn't have to be monetary for sure. And, you can spend an hour or two a month doing it. It doesn't have to be. It's whatever is within your due bounds to be able to do, right?
Well, and within, like, charitable organizations or the charitable philosophies, there's, like, types of people who are, like, there's charitable lifestyle, and there's someone who tries to min-max their charitable endeavors. Like, how can I do the most and make the biggest impact ever by doing the biggest of things? And I always kind of think about it like, what's more important if you're trying to get in shape? Is it going to the gym once a year for 10 hours, or is it going to the gym 20 minutes every day? Like,
right.
And so, like, on one hand, it's like, yeah, if you have a buttload of money and you can really make a big impact, that's awesome. But that's not really tangible for most people. And so the way that if you don't have a massive trust fund amount of money just to create a charity fund is to do small acts of charity consistently. And I think that also can build momentum over a lifetime.
Well, yeah, most definitely. Oh.
So how do you think Masonic principles hold up in this noisy, online hustle-driven world that we're roaming around in.
If you actually pay attention to the lessons and some of the hidden lessons like civility and stuff like that, they should be your guide into how to have positive interactions with people, especially online. I'm gonna focus on that particular one because it's a sticking point for me constantly with other Masons and some of their behavior on social media through like comments and various videos or whatever, where I'm like, you guys, all the lessons apply here too, you know, and civility applies here too. And it's like everybody throws that out the window when they can hide behind a keyboard or, you know, turn off comments on a video they post.
It's like the lesson of silence and circumspection is also helpful in those moments. Like, you don't have to engage in every content you see. And if you do engage, you should engage in a Masonic way, which ideally is either A, respectful, B, positive, C, kind, D, helpful, probably be nice to throw in there. And if you can't be A, respectful, or civil and respectful, or kind, or helpful, you probably should revert to silence and just go, I don't like that. And just move on with your life and be like, I don't need to invite this negativity. I can just move on. And tell you what, as a former keyboard warrior, and I was always civil, the annoying thing about being the civil guy in the room with the deranged Sasquatch behind the keyboard who's just saying the most offensive things and just being so rude, aggressive, making lots of assumptions, is it becomes harder and harder to keep it civil. And then you just go, why am I even having this conversation? And then you just go, who is this person? Right. I should have been silent. I moved on with my life instead of inviting that into it.
Here's a healthy reminder for anybody that listens to us. You are probably not going to change somebody's mind in a comment debate on Facebook.
I was reading this book on virtue ethics from the example of Aristotle and Plato and such. And they were saying like the same thing. They were like, a comment will never change mind because changing minds takes time. And they go, and changing minds will take hundreds of conversations where you plant little seeds and you just keep watering it over and over. And it's like, and the only way you do it is you have to commit to the relationship because you guys are going to have to be best friends by the end. Because if you're going to change someone's mind, you're going to spend a lot of time with them. Otherwise, it's really not worth the effort. If you're trying to be informative, like a good example is if you're responding to a comment in a civil way, being like, hey, that's just factually not true. Here are the stats. There you go. And then they respond to it and you just back out. You're like, hey, I just wanted to make sure there was a voice of reason in the room. And you step back. I think that's still Masonic to be like, I spread light. I can lay the truth out there and go, here's that actually. And that's the seed. You go, a little doubt. And then you just walk away and go, I cannot fix any more than that. You're wasting your time. And even then, you're probably wasting it.
Right.
Well, and the other challenge so Masonry has two strengths, and this is complex because this is a duality, especially now where I'm going to go with it after this. Masonry can be very humbling, but it can also be very ego-driven. It can also stoke people's egos, depending on the fact. I would say that a Mason living their lifestyle leans more into humility. And I will say that some Masons can let their ego run amok once they can receive a small amount of power within a lodge or within a grand jurisdiction, just depending on who's who and where's where. And that happens everywhere because a lot of people might not have the opportunity to get a level of authority in their professions, but they might have an opportunity to get in their lodge. And if they're so enticed by it, they might let their egos run amok. But let's take the positive aspect, acknowledging that the opposite one does exist. It's challenging because in the age of social media rewards ego. So the same type of characters, when we're saying, hey, we need to demand humility, can also fall into the trap on social media when they're trying to live a Masonic lifestyle of having an ego-driven issue.
Well, it's that dopamine hit that we get from likes and shares and positive feedback and everything on social media, and we want to share our accomplishments, and it is an interesting line to walk between. The problem is the outside perspective on it a lot, right? When you post something to just be like, hey, check this out, this is cool, this happened, and people are like, oh, look at him, he felt like he had to post about that, and you shouldn't be obviously his ego's in the way because he made that post and everything else, and you're like, no, I just thought I'd tell people about it. Like, I wasn't trying to be like egocentric, I just thought people might like to know about it. But there's the other side of that spectrum where somebody is posting it to be like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. And, it does ultimately end up inflating their head, right? And humility is important to, you got to keep the wolf of ego in check. And that is not always easy, but you also can't be so humble that you lack confidence.
You don't advocate for yourself either. There is a middle path that should be found, and if you're on that middle path, it's better to lean towards humility than lean into ego. Yes. But yeah, there is an extreme on both ends, and it's weird because you can take two people, you could put them on a podcast, and suddenly they think they're an expert on everything.
I am an expert on nothing.
You know what I mean, though? But that's the trap. I mean, that we as content creators who create content have to always be mindful of is that we're not experts, and all because you receive likes or a following, that doesn't mean you're actually any smarter than you were before you started. And I think that people can fall into that trap of being like, wow, a lot of people are really getting what I'm saying. Maybe I am right about everything. Maybe my shit don't stink.
No,
I would fall into that sometimes on a podcast, but the thing is hard on the podcast because you have to be confident to make content. But I would like to make a formal disclosure. I know about some things, and I mostly know about nothing. So we do our best.
That's a great disclosure, to be honest with you. Like, because we have to exude confidence about the way we're speaking about topics and what we feel like. And this is the important part, and this is where you can bring the humility back into it, right? What we feel like is the correct answer or the correct way of doing things in our opinion, right? These are ultimately our opinions about these various topics and things like that. We are not subject matter experts. We are not anything. We are having stream of consciousness conversations and giving our opinions. Anytime anybody wants to disagree with me about it, we are more than welcome to have that conversation, because I am willing to change my mind if you prove me wrong.
It's like I was talking with Brother Napoleon, shout out to the Further Light podcast, a great podcast to check out, about the Rageous poem after the episode, and I was telling him what our stream of consciousness take was on a portion. He's like, that's not what they're saying at all. It was that difficult part about, I forget what it was. He's like, look at the time, look what's going on. He spent more time sitting with these. He's like, this is what they're talking about. This is why it's pointing this. And I was like, oh, dang, that's better. I agree with that now. And so I'm willing to change my mind on almost anything. And we do put a disclosure at the front. The views and opinions of this podcast are not the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other appended body, because it is just, it's just us speaking from our experience and interpreting in real time, like everyone has to do, but you always learn along the way.
Well, and I was just going to say, it's us learning. Literally, when you are listening to this podcast, you are listening to Andrew and I gathering our thoughts and trying to put them in some manner of verbal communication for other people to understand, and learning where our strengths and our weaknesses are in our opinions on various topics, and what we might not actually know anything about.
Yeah, like we did during the Rages poem. We're like, that was kind of hard.
Right.
I think the key to the social media humility dealio is I think Masons need to remember that if you're living a Masonic lifestyle, the lifestyle should be heavily focused on self-improvement instead of self-promotion. I think that's where the lines can get sticky if people get too popular. And if we were blowing up, which thankfully we're not, thanks to all of our not listeners, great, thanks guys, keeping us humble, is that, if you're blowing up, you can start to turn your head towards the self-promotion over the self-improvement, like you're talking about. We are doing a stream of consciousness. We're speaking and trying to put together our thoughts because that's helping us self-improve. And we don't do an amazing job at self-promoting, which is probably through our own laziness.
Well, I mean, we try to promote the podcast, right? But we don't overly do it. And I've always been a firm believer that your content will speak for itself. So, as people find it, if they find it enjoyable, they'll keep coming back. But I would agree that the self-improvement versus self-promotion is a very, very distinctive line. You have to stop and think sometimes, am I making this video? Am I making this podcast episode? Am I making it to feel better about myself and do a look at me thing? Or am I doing it because I think I have something, whether it be right or wrong? I feel like I have something valuable to share with other people, and I'm opening myself up to the dissenters because I'm willing to take on that challenge and learn more.
For the sake of being self-reflective, I do think that no matter how we try to slice this pie, there is some ego put into if you have a podcast. You're saying, I have something important to say that I think can be helpful to others. So you can have noble ego, but it's still an element of ego to think that anything we have to say is important, right? And so I think it's about finding the balance that, like you said, like you need to have enough ego to be able to be confident
yeah.
and to make change happen. I know that some faiths will say you should dissolve your ego, and that's all good and well for certain lifestyles. Great. I think there's something noble about that as well. But as a person living in the world who's trying to affect people around them, I know there's a lot of philosophical arguments that people go down on this chain about do less, do more, whatever. But even within that, like the idea of saying, like, I think that this take could at least be inspiring enough to our listeners to get them thinking and you get them reflecting to help them on their Masonic lifestyle journey. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, there's a little bit of ego involved in everything you do. And there, in my opinion, there has to be a little bit of ego. The problem comes in when you start letting ego drive the ship.
Yeah, instead of logic. I mean, if you're an ascetic in the woods, you can dissolve your ego, right? Because you're basically exiting society and you're saying, I'm going to do this weird experiment where I try to dissolve my ego. And you go, rad. I like to hear about it. I like to read your books. Super. I'm not going to live in the woods. I'm not going to live in a cave. Sucks to suck for me. My ego's got to stay because I live in the world. And the world requires responsible amount of ego to survive and to thrive, right? Like if you want to flourish, if you're an ascetic and you get donations of rice, heck yeah, you can go and do that. But if you're talking about just a normal person living a normal life, you have to have a necessary form of I need to advocate for myself and my family and my community, and that's ego. And especially if you're taking a leadership position, there always has to be some level of I get to make the decision because I know what's best. And even if you trust other people to help you make that decision, ultimately it's an ego-driven move to say, I have to make the final say because I have to make the final choice. Right.
Because ultimately I'm the one responsible for what happens as a result of that decision.
Yeah, right. All right. To shift gears a little bit, I know that some of our listeners may or may not be Masons, so let's tackle some Masonic myths versus reality of the Masonic lifestyle.
Ooh.
So I
Right.
think from an outside perspective, people assume the Masonic lifestyle is very mysterious or elitist. What's the truth behind that, Matt? I mean, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but where do you think the misconception comes from?
I think there's probably a misconception back in the day, just because, and to this day, when we talk about Masonry and you try to put Masonry, and this is going to be more to the elitist point than the mysterious point. When you talk about Masonry with people, what do we always do? Well, George Washington was a Mason. Well, X, Y, and Z celebrity or influential person was a Mason, right?
Historically,
then
Masonry
people are
was
going,
elitist, yeah.
right? Like, people are going to go, oh, well, Masonry must only be the fancy people. And, there are other misconceptions out there that would lead to those beliefs, right? Like, you see a bunch of guys in tuxes on a regular basis. A lot of people don't realize you can buy affordable tuxes. Everybody thinks that you're going out and spending a couple grand to buy a tux, and they're like, "Oh, these guys got this money.
My
Got
tux
that
was
money over there."
$110 from Amazon. It looks
Right.
like it.
I think mine was like $150. So yeah,
I think mine was on
like,
sale, actually. I do think what's mysterious about Masonry's lifestyle is kind of like we talked about at the start, that Masonic charity and Masonic action is very quiet. It's not very boomy. It's not very in your face. It's very humble and it's very service oriented. So the lifestyle is almost invisible in the way that it's, being willing to volunteer, being willing to mentor, doing good for your community. It's not showy. So then it makes you wonder, what are they doing? And it's like, he just is the guy that you're seeing at the polling station. You know what I mean? Like, he's just volunteering. He's in his community. He's helping out. And it's like, it's a civic service. It's advocacy. It's not loud. And our charity has traditionally been fairly quiet. And Masons worldwide are donating millions and millions a year to various charitable causes worldwide. And no one talks about it for the most part. It's fairly quiet.
Right. Well, and our loudest version of charity that most people don't even realize is associated with Masonry would be the shrine.
Fancy the shrine being loud.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, there's that. They're loud in both behavior and charity, but
yeah, I mean, and people don't even realize that they're Masons.
right. A lot of people don't understand that in order to be a Shriner, you have to be a Mason first. And you got Shrine hospitals and everything everywhere, and people associate that with being a very good, well done, out there charitable organization, and they know about the little red hats and the little cars and everything else.
The clowns,
they're
and the
super. They're super visible, and they're like, "Oh, we love the Shriners. They do great work." Masons are devil worshippers, and you're like, oh, "Wait, hold on. You can't have that opinion."
One has to be false.
Right. One has to be false.
Yeah, I think that's where the illusion of the mystery is more mysterious than the mystery. And so it just falls into it because, that's why a lot of grand jurisdictions like our own are doing a lot of stuff. Like, we need to be visible in what we're doing, so people, to dispel what are they doing? It's like, we can show you a little bit. Like, we're doing this in the community. We're here and there. We're up here. We're donating to this charity. We're doing the dyslexia centers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're donating fire suppression tools and AEDs to every car, like, to show, like, hey, if you want a glimpse behind the curtain, you can see the charitable works we're doing, but it's still not as in your face as other charitable organizations do.
Right.
Because charity is not the only thing we do.
Right. Charity is a byproduct of the lessons that Freemasonry teaches, right? We are first and foremost a brotherhood of good men trying to become better men. Charity, therefore, would be a byproduct of that, as good men should be doing charitable acts.
100%. So, what do you think is one Masonic principle you've been trying to apply lately?
Oh. An unwritten Masonic principle, I think. Well, patience and temperance. The patience to try to have a conversation with my 4-year-old about why she's misbehaving, and the ability to temper my responses to that behavior.
Back from, what was it, from dudes to dads episode, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like parenting is the ultimate practice in tempering your emotions, especially anger, and I fail at that fairly regularly.
No, you saying that's been making me think about it with a terrible soon-to-be 2-year-old. Not terrible, but you know what I mean? Like loud, annoying in the nicest way. I love the kid, but frustrating. Like it's just kind of exhausting age, right? I've definitely had to catch myself, because there's definitely a couple of weeks where I was just grouchy, and to be like, just be patient, be positive, and enjoy. Like if he's being whiny, and I'm just like, dude, come on. It doesn't fix it. But if I just go, tickle, 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 it just like switches his mood and he runs off, and you're like, all right. So if you can catch yourself before you're losing your patience and redirect it to something fun, it can make it a little more fun for you and fun for them. The other principle I've been finding myself using quite a bit is the beehive as of late, with installation coming up next month. I swear I've spent almost every night for the last couple of weeks, if we're not on the podcast, at 8 p.m. sitting at this desk, working on other stuff, trying to get stuff put together, trying to button things up, looking at stuff, looking at the budget, looking at that, sending emails, doing social media. Like I'm just trying to get caught up. So I've been a little industrious little bee. Because I probably should have done more work in advance. But here I am.
Right. I can sympathize with that. Yeah. The beehive is definitely a symbol that runs deep in Masonry for me, as I find myself involved in more and more things.
Yep. And it's definitely been a challenge. Like there's a lot to do, a lot to keep up with. And, Q4 of your senior warden year is definitely the crunch time where you're like, hey, you could have done this stuff in advance, but if you didn't do it then, now's the best time. And you're like, okay. Yeah. You're like, trying to get caught up. Not that I have not been planning, but putting the pen on paper stuff where you're like, now I need to manifest it. It can't just be in my head. It has to become real.
Right. And, if elected in November and installed in December, welcome to the next year of your life.
I'm at least looking forward to that, because at least that's come as it goes, because I feel like the planning portion, I might change my tune over the next couple of episodes if elected, if I move to the East. The planning part is so much anticipation and trying to like get everything perfect. And I feel like it's a different experience than piecemeal. Like, oh, here's your newest problem. Like, oh, here's your newest problem. Yeah. Oh, here's your newest problem.
Right.
Like, yep. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Well, as we've discussed, and I don't know if we've discussed it on the podcast, your calendar and your plan and your vision are your trestle board. And if you have a well designed and laid out trestle board, then you just got to execute on it, right? And whatever other things come up, you handle as they come up.
My biggest challenge, and it's going to probably be shattered immediately, is trying to streamline the calendar trestle board to be more predictable, in the way that like degrees will always be on this night, practice are on this night, like to try to like say, hey, we have to be patient. We're not going to do 20 degrees in a month, like find the time, and we'll see if that's idealistic. And it very well might be, but trying to stop us pushing trustees meetings every other month, because we're trying to fit everything in for the sake of efficiency, and trying to see if there's some sort of middle ground to be found on that. We'll see if that's idealistic. Pretty quick.
Right. No, I hear you. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. We'll figure it out. We'll sort through it. We'll get there.
Yeah, I know. It just like, I want it to be very Thursday focused, to be like, especially you're getting busier. A lot of people are getting busier, to be like, let's try to consolidate to make it a little easier. But
right. Well, and just remember, the ability to adapt to changing situations is one of the best qualities a leader can have. So don't try to stay the course if it's clearly not working.
I know. I mean, I think there's also the ability to stay the course and make exceptions when exceptions are required, because it makes sense, right? I do like the idea of trying to put down something that's a little more rigid and then allowing for exceptions, rather than making the exception the rigid being a little more, the exception is being rigid. You know what I mean? Like, I want to try to flip it on its head and see if that makes things a little smoother, but we'll see. Could completely blow up in the first month, and then I just have to go back to whatever the normal plan is just try to make it work.
Right. There's only one way to find out sometimes. So
yeah, we'll see. Just kind of depends what the year has in store.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think a challenge for our listeners for this week, you know, I would recommend you guys examine your Masonic lifestyle, look at the virtues and the practice of Masonry, and try to pick one out and see if you can give it a try, and let us know what you picked.
I think any listener that made it to this point in this episode has already had a practice in fortitude just to make it all the way through this episode.
Yep. You know, I guess I would say, as you're going out into the world today, tomorrow, the next day, ask yourself, are your actions today, you know, were they on the square? Were they on the level? And were they by the plum?
That's a perfect way to end
and
it.
Should you or shouldn't you grow a beard?
Everyone should, and I should just get to walk down the line and go, nope, cut it off. Yep, keep it. Nope, yep, nope.
Or you could say, may your compasses stay true, and may your Wi-Fi be strong enough to stream our next episode.
Jeez. Well, if you want to get a hold of us and tell us how terrible this episode was, feel free to email us at timeforfellowship@gmail.com.
timeforfellowship@gmail.com. All right, take care, everybody.
You have a great day, everybody.
Till next week.